Do you think that there are long-term adaptations that you can get from putting your body through 20, 30 kilometers of walking every day for 30 days while you do the Camino or you do some other very long walk? Has there been research done there?
Yeah, there has been, and I discussed some of it in the first chapter of my walking book. So there's a fantastic study by an Italian group where they took a guy in his 60s and they hooked him up to all sorts of fantastic physiological kit, and they got him to walk the Via Alpina, which is about, I think, a 1,200 or 1,400 kilometer walk. And then
Decent
they did
show.
regular physiological samples of him while he was doing his walk. And it took him, I don't know, 3 months or whatever it was to do the walk. His blood pressure fell, his heart rate, resting heart rate fell, his proportion of body fat fell and then stabilized. His lipid profile became fantastic. All of these things, and and then his lean muscle went up a bit, as you might expect, because he's having to carry his kit every day. So there's a kind of a bit of a load from that. And then there have been other studies, less well quantified ones, but nonetheless, there have been some studies of people doing things like the Camino. And you do see things like their lipid profiles become excellent. In fact, this is an anecdote and nothing more. I have a friend who does the Camino intermittently, and he has regularly met a German cardiologist who does the Camino apparently every November or something,
Okay.
because he loves the effect it has on his LDL profile.
Okay.
Now, how long lasting are those effects? That's a good question. You know, the body is kind of like a rubber band in a way. You can stretch it and it might go back, but what you're hoping is the set point will change. So regular challenge right throughout the course of life is what your body really needs. Again, as I said earlier on, doing a quick hour in the evening, hoping that will get over sitting around eating crisps and eating bad food is not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
So doing a quick walk, doing a walk for a few weeks a year is not going to do it for you either.
Yeah. Like what I would love to see is the longitudinal data on like what is the minimum effective dose for walking per week that you would need to maintain the incredible benefits you would get from say one large bout of walking. Like
Yeah,
is 60 minutes walking per week then enough to maintain those benefits? Like what's the decrease? What does the
yeah.
curve
So
look like?
there are good studies on this now, and you have to think about it in different ways. So one way of thinking about it is simply in terms of all cause mortality.
Hmm.
How likely are you to die for a given level of activity at a given age? And sadly, we all have a finite probability of death at any given age, and you're more likely to die in a car crash in your early 20s, for example, than you are in your early 50s. Because people engage in risky behavior. But anyway, that's a kind of a separate issue. But what's the all cause mortality like? Well, what we know is that there seems to be a threshold somewhere around about 5,000 to 7,500 steps a day where you get a dramatic impact on all cause mortality. I don't recall the exact number, but it's something like a 30 to 50% fall in all cause mortality when you're walking regularly above, let's say, 6, 7, 8,000 steps a day. And that's really, quite substantial in terms of impact. And
Yeah.
this includes cardiovascular diseases, it includes respiratory diseases, and also includes cancers. And we know there's an oncogene or anti-neoplastic effect, I suppose, of regular activity. It seems to be bowel cancers from the literature that I've seen that seem to fall probably the most. But that's kind of a by the by. So for a given level of walking, this is what you see. Now, psychologically, so I'm only talking about the physiology here. What we also see is that when people are more active, when they're walking more, their likelihood of succumbing to major depressive disorder falls really quite substantially. So exercise is almost like a vaccine against the future likelihood of major depressive disorder. And there's also at least some data in the literature suggesting that anxiety disorders fall more in people who are regular walkers as well. Now, inferring causality here is hard.
Yeah.
Do people like is it a reverse causality that if you're less anxious, you'll walk more because you're not
You're more
scared
likely to
to go
walk.
out,
Yeah.
etc. But there are quite a few studies now looking at the effect of exercise as an intervention against depression in people who've already got depression. And the literature is very clear. Engaging in exercise as either the sole monotherapy for major depressive disorder or as an augmentation of some other therapy is really beneficial. The effect sizes are really quite remarkable. And this is often thought to be the case, there's no hint from the literature that people who have major depressive disorder are less likely to want to engage in a program of structured exercise compared to
Oh,
people who are not. It's assumed to be the case, and that turns out not to be true.
that is what I would have assumed. So my
Yeah,
next question was going to be, so why is there such a resistance to doctors mainstreaming this as a prescription? And then my thought would have been that it doesn't matter if a doctor tells someone to do it, that they likely just won't. You know, people have this tendency to care about other people more than they do themselves, and they'll make sure that their grandmother gets or their mother gets the prescription, but they won't take it themselves. But that's
yeah,
interesting that that's actually not the case. Depressed people won't walk less or won't be
yeah.
less.
So the issue there really is twofold. One is you've already hinted at half the answer. That people will look after others. Where exercise in depression is concerned, you need somebody else to do it with them.
Ah,
You cannot expect somebody who's in a state of psychological distress to just suddenly go, oh, okay, I must start walking 5K every day.
yeah,
That's not how things work. So you need a kind of, for want of a better phrase, a wraparound service. You need the GP to be able to say, look, you need to go to the following care center, whatever phraseology we wish to use. And there they have available clinical psychology, but they also have physiotherapy. They have a variety of things available. And, if you're a harassed GP in a practice where you're having to see, I don't know, 50 people a day, um, you're seeing broken toes, you're seeing cuts, you're seeing infections, you're seeing possible cases of cancer. You've got lots and lots of things to do, and care pathways. If somebody comes in, let's say with bad knees, the care pathway for that is pretty good. You get a referral for an X-ray or an MRI, and you go and see an orthopedic consultant, and then they'll decide, do you need lots and lots of physio, or do you actually need to get that meniscus stitched back in place, or whatever it happens to be. Same is true, if you come in and you've got a melanoma or something, they know what to do. It's very, very clear. So that
yeah,
the treatment pathways in those cases are very, very obvious. I think for mental health and kind of public health more generally, there's been a struggle where this is concerned to change things so that you offer these kinds of services. It's not easy.
yeah.
I don't have an answer to it. You need to put a lot of pieces in place to have a service like that will work in a way that people will get the kind of optimum benefit from it. And it may
Yeah.
be, if we just, sorry, I know I'm going on a bit here, but if you think about major depressive disorder, it may be, there are lots of different contributing factors to it. Inflammatory state is one. So it may be that people with a high inflammatory state will benefit from an exercise regime. But somebody who's depressed because of a major life event, a loved one has died or some other terrible catastrophe has befallen them, exercise may not benefit that person, or it may benefit them only marginally. And what they really need is cognitive behavior therapy.
Yeah.
And then if you have people who've got, for example, treatment refractory depression, they're not responding to SSRIs, they're not responding to CBT, they're not responding to exercise to other kinds of drug treatment. Well, then maybe in that case, actually, the only option is something like electroconvulsive shock, which works very, very well, contrary to
The
the
perception on those
the
words. Yeah.
perception of it.
Yeah. I really hope you enjoyed that clip with cognitive neuroscientist Dr. Shane O'Mara. If you did, I couldn't recommend more our full conversation. It was really wide ranging. We talked about walking, creativity, the use of devices, if our attention spans are shrinking, TikTok, loads. It was a really interesting conversation. I couldn't recommend it more. And as always, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.